special day, and I'm going to say why. I'm going to take 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll move on to the more important speeches. I believe this is really setting to start building on our democracy. Tunisia, for the last 3 years, have been going through a lot. We've been going through a lot of transitions, and a fight for freedom, fight for democracy, fight for our future, in a sense. And I believe we can start and help Tunisia. Not only that we have to quit our jobs and go help there, we can start here in New York. And I believe democracy starts at home. Beyond anything of going into strikes and fighting, we have to start it at home, where basically you build it with your 5-year-old. If you are at home and you're having a conversation with your child and you respect his opinion, you respect your spouse's opinion, you build on democracy, you build on a culture. So today, for me, one of the things that I thought about initially to think about, I'm like, okay, TUNESS, we have a lot of hopes and a lot of hopes for the future. And I believe to have a true democracy, we are building it here as we start today, but to have a true democracy, we need to actually have 15, 16, 20 candidates. So that's what's hopefully is the hope. So when I asked Ziad had a perfect point. He's like, you know what, but we're starting to build the culture. It's about building the culture here, building the attitude and the mentality of, you know what, we're gonna vote, we're gonna vote for people that are gonna present us, we're gonna fight for what we believe, we're gonna fight for what we think is right, and we're gonna stand up and say, you know what, this has been done wrong, this has been done well. And I think that's where it's important to start building on that. I wanna thank every member. I think TUNESS has achieved a lot the last 2 years or 3 years, and I believe without every one of you it will not be possible. I think contribution starts from small to big, and it's a whole group together. That's how we are achieving what we are doing now, but I also believe we have a long way to go. I think each one of us is responsible to do more, and that's how we can grow, that's how we can affect our New York, Tunisians in New York, but that's how we are also influence back home, and how we can help grow democracy and grow and help a lot of issues that are important for back home and important for us to achieve. I want to thank the previous board. I think the previous board have done a lot. It's very, very impressive. Look at Ziad. He's always on his phone. He's like, I'm like, you seem like you have 2 jobs. It's amazing how much commitment is done. I see with Bashir, with everyone in this group, with Walid, everyone is committed a lot to this. Everyone is putting a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and I think they deserve a huge applause, and they deserve a lot of the credit for what happened. I'm gonna. And lastly, I want to say that I think we have a big responsibility here. I'm going to take 1 more minute or 2 minutes to say that we have a huge responsibility. But I think it's a responsibility that sometimes we don't really appreciate until we think about. You look at how we can be huge role models for a lot of kids in Tunisia. I remember this. I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm like, what am I going to say? I remember being 4-year-old or 5-year-old, and one of my uncles, I grew up in a small little town, in a small neighborhood in Kirwan, and one of my uncles had a friend who was doing his graduate school in Canada. And I was 4 or 5, and this guy came home just to visit for an hour. And I remember sitting and staring at him for an hour non-stop, and the guy thinks like I'm crazy. And all that I was thinking is like, oh my God, he's studying in Canada. He's for me it was like, give me some of your superpower. And it's really funny because why I'm saying this is that starting from there, being a role model to kids, you can really influence a lot. Sometimes I wonder how much that meeting influenced me to go where I am today. Because you ultimately have to have role models to achieve what you're achieving. Like if we can actually raise our voice to Tunisians back home, and you can show each one of us, you can start from, Walid here, sorry, I'm going to bring you up. He also grew up, he's Jlasi Kifi, he grew up in Kirwan, a small town, with all kind of hurdles, and he's now here with a PhD doing some kind of fancy mathematical modeling. You know how many kids in Tunisia, if they can use that as a huge role model? Bashir, having a huge and important decision-making and policy decision in Washington, D.C. with the World Bank. Islam, he's trading things in Mexico and Brazil, and he's sitting in front of 7 or 8 computers in New York City. You know how that, if I was a kid as a 4-year-old, in the condition I grew in, were literally, you know, it was very difficult conditions. For me, these examples are something that will give me a lot of inspiration. So I think we need to work hard to give our examples to Tunisia and show this example to kids in Tunisia, because the future of Tunisia is kids. I'm sorry, we did a little bit of, we did a revolution, we should be proud of, but I think we have a lot of revolutions to come. We have a lot, we need to start changing the culture, we need to change the mentality, and it starts with providing a lot of guidance to kids. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up. Thank you guys, and I'm gonna give the next to Ziad, the president.